elimination tier. These teams are just going to live on this tier until either they get eliminated or they make the season ends. But these three teams still alive. They all need, they need to win out and get some help from Denver, but that's where they're at. Next, opposing realities. So here is a weird spot, or opposite realities, I should say. The Falcons have to win this week against Washington in order to realistically be alive for Week 18. Seattle plays tonight, and oddly, for Seattle, tonight's game, 100% meaningless. If the Rams beat the Cardinals, the division's over. If the Rams lose to the Cardinals, they play for it in Week 18, no matter what Seattle does tonight. So I'm not telling you to pick the Bears or bet the Bears. What I am telling you is Seattle's game tonight is 100% meaningless to their playoff lives. And I don't know if, I'm certain the broadcast tonight won't know it, and I'm not sure how many people do. Next, not ready for prime time. And oddly, this could be a round one matchup. Likely will be a round one matchup if the seeds hold, with Houston being the 4, Pittsburgh being the 5, which means these two teams who are both playing their worst football, worst time of the year, if that's a round one matchup, by definition, one of them is getting to round 2. But I do feel like, despite coaches' passionate case that we saw this week, neither one of these teams is really ready for the cream of the crop NFL teams. Just can't collapse. All right, so these two teams, both of them theoretically could get in, even if they lose their final 2. Both of them definitively 100% get in if they win just one. For Denver, that means you just have to beat either Cincinnati or the backup Chiefs. For the Chargers, that just means you have to beat the Patriots or the first-string Raiders. What's harder, backup Chiefs, first-string Raiders? I'm kidding. We know it's the backup Chiefs. But regardless, point is this. These have been great seasons for both of these teams. With a rookie quarterback, with a new head coach, you just can't collapse against these teams down the stretch and miss the postseason. Playoff bonus. So it feels like making the playoffs anything they do in the playoffs, I should say, would be a bonus for either of these teams. They just have to officially get there. Washington's already thrilled. Oddly, they're not officially in yet, but it's very hard to find the scenario where they don't make it, but one more win would lock them in. Tampa is going for the 4th straight division championship for them. The last time Tampa didn't win the division, they won the Super Bowl. So it's been quite some time since Tampa was not in the postseason. And then once they get there, it feels like any wins would be a bonus. Round 1 nightmare. So here's the deal, Brew, between, your NFC main squeeze and my NFC side piece. No one wants to play either one of these teams. But they're probably going to be playing each other in round 1. This is the likely 3-6, because the Packers it's going to be very hard for them to climb to 5, hard for them to fall to 7, and the Rams, assuming they don't fall apart, are kind of stuck there likely at 3. So I think these teams could beat anyone in the NFC side of the bracket in any round, really, but one of them likely is going home, which will be an incredibly given how the Rams are one of the hottest. I think they've won 8 of 10. The Packers are playing their best ball as of late. One of them is going to be going home after wild card round if the bracket holds. Buy or bust? I can't imagine the swing here for the Vikings and the Lions. It is pretty likely these two teams go into the 272nd game of a 272-game season, Sunday Night Football, where the winner gets the 1 seed and home field advantage throughout, and the loser is on the road maybe 6 days later in round 1. Whoever gets that bye should be, even if it's the Vikings and Sam Darnold, the at least slight favorite to win the conference. And whoever loses that game is going to be in a dogfight every round of the playoffs. It's going to be, if it holds, it'll be one of the most consequential regular season games in recent memory. Next, when they're rolling, Baltimore and Philly. These are two teams that when things are rolling, the defense running around like Philly's been all year and Baltimore's been as of late. Their all-pro superstar running backs are doing all-pro superstar running back things, and their dual-threat quarterbacks are hitting the deep ball while also hitting stuff with their legs. they look like they are as good as any team in the league. With Baltimore, you worry about the ghosts of playoffs past. With Philly, you worry about the coach who even this past week evidently got into it with Zach Ertz right after the game. Once again, thank God Big Dom was there to save the day. But but when they're rolling, they look as good as anyone. 85 Dolphins. So the 1985 Miami Dolphins had an MVP candidate quarterback named Dan Marino. They won 12 games, but their sole real contribution in NFL history is this. They are the reason the 85 Bears didn't go undefeated. They don't really get remembered for that, but it is a nice little footnote to history. Sadly, they might have been the second best team in football that year. I think that's going to be the same story for these Buffalo Bills. Their only real contribution is going to be they're the reason the Kansas City Chiefs did not go undefeated en route to a three-peat. And atop the tiers, the practicing Chiefs. Because let's be honest, the only thing better than the Chiefs when they're practicing are, of course, the playoff Chiefs, who are really the team atop.
Okay, let's talk about this. All right. So listen, I don't think that there's anything fundamentally wrong. Again, at this point, trying to figure out who are the Dolphins and the Colts and the Seahawks, I'm kind of like, how much does it matter? Seriously, like, how much does it really matter? At this point, it's kind of like, we got to talk about who actually matters. So, at not the way bottom, but the bottom for the teams that I think matter. And I did this really quick, so I may have missed out a team or so. But I got the Broncos, the Chargers, and the Bucks. And I have, don't forget us, because I think these teams are really good. They have signs of really showing what they're capable of doing. They can all win some playoff games and make some noise, but it's just like, what will they be able to put together in the playoffs? Then above that, I have the Commanders and the Steelers. The Commanders, Rams, and Steelers. And I say, we're great, I promise. Because those teams definitely have shown us some wild, wild highs. And have really shown what they are capable of doing at the highest degree. Like when you look at some games and not even just them playing trash teams, you're like, they could win a Super Bowl. I mean, look what the Rams did against the Bills, the Commanders versus the Eagles. The Steelers, I understand they've definitely lost a handful of games and injuries might be catching up to them. And now Russ has been not making the best of decisions. So it's just like they're hanging on at a thread at times, but other times it's just like, I don't want to face them. These are top teams. And then I have the Packers, Vikings, and Lions. I have them as the three kings of the North. I mean, these teams are beasts. All three of these teams are beasts. The Lions have the asterisk because of their health, because of their injuries, and I think that's totally fair, and we're still kind of waiting to find out. But like I've said a lot in all of my Lions videos, I am not counting them out. I am not willing to drop them because I still think that they are that great. But I really do put the Packers, Vikings, and Lions. It's three kings of the North, man. I mean, it's just like, who it's all so close between the three of them. It really is, and I see all three of them as just, potentially being monsters. But then it's our tried and true. It's the Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, and Eagles. I trust you with my life. Honestly, when it really comes down to it, these four franchises, these four teams have been really an example of excellence for years. They just have. I mean, yes, they obviously all haven't won all their Super Bowls. Really only within the last 7 years, it's only been the Chiefs and the Eagles for that matter. And multiple Super Bowl, the Ravens and the Bills haven't even been to the Super Bowl in the last 7 years. And only the Chiefs and the Eagles have actually been multiple times. But these are the teams, man. It's like at the end of the day, I understand we can have all the jokes about Lamar Jackson being, choking in the playoffs and being James Harden and stuff like that. You can have all those jokes you want, but I mean, you don't want Lamar as your quarterback? Of course you do. The Philadelphia Eagles, we can talk about Nick Sirianni. That roster is stacked. That roster is absolutely stacked. A.J. Brown, Devontae, Jalen, Saquon, right? And that defense has been on fire. And in the Buffalo Bills, it's Josh Allen. What are we talking about, man? Josh Allen, we know goes beast mode. It's let's go. And the Kansas City Chiefs, again, you're going to count out Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Spags, Kelsey, now Brown in there. That to me was always the biggest question mark about the Chiefs late in the season. It's do they get healthy? Do they get Brown back? Do they get Pacheco, right? And when they do get some of those players back, what does this team look like? But that's why I still put them all in that same tier, because I look at the Chiefs. If the Chiefs play the Eagles in the Super Bowl, no idea. Chiefs and the Bills, Chiefs and the Ravens, Ravens and the Bills, no idea, no idea, no idea. And I think any of these other 4 teams, if they were to play the Packers, the Vikings, the Lions, the Commanders, the Rams, the Steelers, I wouldn't have a strong sense who's going to win that game, but I think that those teams should be favored. You know, you should be like, if I was forced, if I have to decide, which I never like to do, honestly, but if I have to decide, I'm going to go with the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens, and the Eagles. That's kind of how I reach to that, right? It's not to say that the Lions can't beat the Eagles, or the Lions can't beat the Bills, or the Vikings can't beat the Ravens. Like, not to say that those things aren't possible or not even unlikely. It's just that I think the way how these teams have been playing, it's just, they're just a little bit more deserving at that point. Not to mention, there's other things that like truly, truly scare me. Again, I also try to look at it as like, if I had to play this other team, if I had to play the Chiefs, if I had to play the Ravens, like what scares me, right? It's Andy Reid, Mahomes, and Spags. That trio right there, I'm like, I know Andy Reid's going to bring it. I know Mahomes is going to bring it. I know Spags is going to bring it. That's what scares me. The Ravens, I'm like, my God, Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. What do you do with that? How are you stopping that? Those are beasts and animals. Josh Allen, I'm like, Josh Allen can do anything on a football field, man. There's just not, no play is ever over. Josh Allen can make it happen. And the Eagles, they're power in numbers. It's not like just Saquon or just AJ. It's just like, oh my God, it's Saquon. Oh my God, it's AJ. Oh my God, and Jalen. Oh my God, and this. It's just one thing after the other. But yeah, I mean, that's honestly really how I see it. And then again, it's like the Falcons, let's see what happens with Michael Penix. I think the Texans are unfortunately just, they're done. They're spent. They're too injured. It's just hard for me to imagine that they're going to somehow be able to like flip the switch and start balling in the playoffs. Like I just don't see that. And the Bengals, I mean, yeah, listen, the Bengals are facing elimination, and I think they could potentially go up to the, hey, don't forget us. And it's possible. Like if the Bengals, for instance, made it to the playoffs, like I would probably skyrocket them above. I'd probably put them in like the top. What is that? Quick math: top 6-7 teams or whatever. I think that would be totally fair because again, it's also like, oh my God, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, T Higgins. Like my goodness, what's what? But like the Seahawks don't scare me, the Colts don't scare me, the Dolphins don't scare me. Any of those teams find themselves in the playoffs, I'm like, all right, great, bring it on, let's go. So yeah, that's just kind of how I'm seeing it right now in this moment of time, and we will see if anything can change in the next week or so. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Nick's tiers going into week 17? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.